I didn't want to be stuck, for a lack of better words, in a first year core curriculum.
Yeah.
If I go to Dartmouth, I'll only be successful, or if I go to UVA Darden, like I won't be successful. Like that's not going through my head. To me, it was all fair game.
As soon as you're accepted, truly the tables turn. They want you to come.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're in the driver's seat.
You're getting emails and phone calls weekly from current students, from alumni, from staff. Like, how can we talk to you to help you come?
After navigating the long and rigorous business school application process, receiving an acceptance for your target MBA program is a huge achievement. But what if you find yourself with offers from multiple target schools? With several top-tier programs suddenly vying for your attention, the decision-making process can quickly become overwhelming. Each business school offers a unique combination of curriculum, culture, specializations, environment, so much more, all of which will shape your MBA experience in different ways. So how do you make the right choice? How do you make your right choice? Today, we're excited to welcome back Austin Sandoval, who was extremely thoughtful both in which schools he applied to and then in how he evaluated all of the programs he got into. Austin was admitted to multiple top 15 MBA programs and offered generous scholarships from each, including several full ride offers. Austin is here to share his insights on weighing competing offers, negotiating scholarships, and ultimately making his final decision about where to earn his MBA. Welcome back to the podcast, Austin.
Austin, thanks again for being here with us today. So why don't you help us understand a little bit what your process looked like in terms of how did you get to know the schools? How did you think about applying? Just how everything came together for you.
Yeah, so, through onTrack, there's modules that talk about why this school and why not this school. And initially, I wanted to go M7, Harvard, Stanford, Wharton. I just feel like that's what everyone talks about. M7, like there's so much presence. And so before I even knew what any of those schools truly were about, that was like the goal. And, I start thinking through, and then you start doing your research, start watching onTrack modules, and it's like, hey, if you're not an analytical person or that quantitative, maybe you shouldn't go to this school. Or if you're not a city person, or if you don't like the freezing cold, maybe you shouldn't go to this school. And so things just started to click for me. I realized that I wasn't a city person. I had no desire to be in Chicago or New York City. I went and visited New York City. I went and visited Columbia Business School. I saw the Manhattanville campus, and it was gorgeous. But I just remember kind of taking a step back and being like, okay, like, let's be real, right? Like, business school isn't just the campus. It isn't just the buildings. You got to think about the bigger city, like your life, your social life, where you'll be living, where you'll go out, where you'll spend time with your significant other if you have one. And so, I was looking around and I was like, we're not city people. Right. So why am I going to apply to Columbia? Why am I going to apply to Booth? Why am I going to, and so once I started checking off these city schools, you start to really dig deeper. And you start thinking about, UVA Darden and Dartmouth Tuck and Duke Fuqua. And I was applying to through the consortium. So, I don't want to say limited because that's not a great word to put it, but there, not every school is available through the consortium. HBS isn't, MIT isn't. And so, naturally those schools kind of weren't options. And so, I was focused on applying only through the consortium from a Common App standpoint, from a financial standpoint. I wanted to put myself in the running for the consortium fellowship as well. And so all those were big parts of it. And then you start digging deeper, into the curriculum. Do I want to be at a case-only school at UVA Darden? Do I want to be in a required first-year curriculum like Dartmouth Tuck and UVA Darden? Or do I want to specialize in other, like minors or emphasis, whatever you kind of want to call it. And so given I have a massive passion with leadership, given that I have a massive intentionality of taking electives across the campus, I felt like Fuqua allows that opportunity much earlier than some of the other schools. I wouldn't be stuck for my whole first year taking core classes, and I didn't want to do that to myself.
Exciting news! You can now access onTrack by mbaMission for free. Take our 2-minute onboarding questionnaire to personalize your learning path. Choose the free plan, and you'll have unlimited access to our complete modules on MBA application timelines, standardized testing, your professional background, community leadership, school selection, and more. You'll also get access to select lessons from our brainstorming, personal statement, essay, resume, and recommendation modules. It's a great introduction to the onTrack platform and will help you jumpstart the MBA application process. Get started today at onTrack.mbaMission.com. If I can interject, I would just say that, the genesis of my relationship with Austin is that I was absolutely blown away by his story, by his personal story, his personal journey, really from birth until he started applying. I mean, I read this. If you listen to the first episode, I read his life story, which he wrote, and was just really, really gripped. We decided that at that point, onTrack was a new program, and I wanted to find a way to help Austin. And I did end up doing a little bit of pinch hitting here and there on his applications, but really most of the interaction he had with the firm was through onTrack and a little bit through me and our emails. And there's this module for, I think, 17 different schools, and he's right. We go through why you should go to school, why you shouldn't go to the school.
Yeah.
And that's there. We're not cheerleading.
Right. And
the curriculum, you're saying the points about the curriculum and about career opportunities. And then there's a freestyle section. Every school gets a couple of lessons, highlighting a talk. It was things like the Winter Carnival or I believe experiential learning. And so every school gets what's specific to them. One candidate actually said to me, and this is something I'm quite proud of, said to me that it was better than the school's website as he prepared for his interactions with admissions officers. So
100%.
it's really, really thorough, and those are only 17 modules out of the 80 plus modules, and you get served only the ones that you need. So you didn't, unless you elected, you didn't get if you weren't applying to Chicago Booth, you didn't get Chicago Booth. It was all kind of customized to you, and I'm just glad that you're not only the key isn't listening and watching the lessons, it's absorbing. And so I'm proud that you made a critical choice, whereas I think other people don't really say okay, these are you can say to applicants all the time, these are the things that you're telling me. You're telling me you want this kind of school. Yeah, but I really want this school that's ranked a little higher. And for some people, rankings can be the number one thing, but to really know yourself and to know your partner, where she'd be happy, and to know what you want out of a school's program, to really find fit is something else.
Austin, just very quickly here, you did have an undergraduate degree in business. Do I understand correctly?
Correct.
I've certainly had experience with clients who come with an undergraduate degree in business. They go to a school and they recognize that for the first year, if there is in fact a core that they cannot place out of any of those courses, it is a very boring year, for lack of a better term. It is simply a year where they spin their wheels. So it's great to think about how thoughtful you were about that, recognizing you sort of get those behind you very quickly, and then you go off and do a lot of electives.
100%. And another thing that I felt like onTrack does such a great job at is when it comes to writing the essays. You give examples of what's a good essay versus a bad essay. Yeah. And that, for me, was transformational. And then when it comes to interviewing, what you said earlier, that onTrack is truly better than a website. Because, at the end of the day, a website's static. You read what you read, but on onTrack, we have Jeremy, narrating the program and talking about the highs and, really highlighting it. And so that was also very real. And, at the end of the day, you trust mbaMission and you trust Jeremy and we trust that you do your research and, you run with that. And that was just, you're getting spoon-fed everything you need to know. Why do I need to go read the website if you're going to capture, more of it?
I think the goal is to crystallize and give you only what you need to really, really get to know, and then you can build on it a little bit.
Correct.
I think the school's websites are so sprawling, and different research institutes and different there's just. No one is critically evaluating the information, or I don't believe that on a lot of schools there are dead links on the school's web pages. There are old professors that are gone. It's crazy, and we just did so much of that homework for applicants. So it was awesome. So we should probably introduce. So we've spoiler alert. We've already established you went to Fuqua. You're going to Fuqua, but you did have choices.
Yep.
And let's talk about comparing those choices and how difficult that was for you. But one thing maybe I'll come back to it. I do want to also know about the role of your partner, because having a partner on campus does make things a little bit different.
100%.
And you guys are packing up like a week to drive.
It's sort of great. It's you, your
crazy.
wife, and your 2 dogs. Do I understand?
That's correct.
What kind of dogs?
2 Australian Shepherds.
Australian Shepherds.
It's crazy.
Not small dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. They're big. No, 100% thinking about that, right? Like at the end of the day, she would have gone where I went. Like she's all for me and I love her for that. However, with that being said, I also wanted to not take her and or be somewhere that from an income standpoint or getting a job would be maybe difficult. And we at the time didn't know whether she would be able to keep her remote job. And so if she wouldn't have been able to, from a risk standpoint, would being in New Hampshire, I guess, be the best place to find a career. She doesn't have, an education or a big sort of breadth of experience to just start applying and landing any remote roles. She works at a church. So it's, she's also, out of respect, limited in kind of that sort of industry. Again, she would have gone anywhere, but then just thinking about taking a step back, right? Durham, it's a little more bigger, it's a little more lively. There's Raleigh down the street.
So we're now comparing, obviously, but for those who need a little context, we're comparing Dartmouth Tuck, where you got in, also with cash, right? You got in with $150,000 at Dartmouth Tuck and $140,000 at Duke. And so we're talking about kind of like an important consideration, which is the portability of jobs and the ability for the research triangle area is a much bigger area than Tuck. And if you're going with a partner at that is an important consideration. Like it's a very important practical consideration, the employability of another. And so for full context, you got into Darden with about
170.
170, okay.
Full tuition fees.
And we got one other school, was Cornell? It was Cornell with
about 100. And I didn't go back and negotiate. I kind of just, for me, it was like, we had a threshold for it was like around 50-60% financially. And if we didn't get that money, I would have been in a huge decision of like, do I even go to school?
Is it worth it?
Is it worth it? Like this is truly a big deal. So once we blew that decision out the water and we had the full rides, I was like, this is so stressful now because this is a first world problem. Like this isn't something stressful as in like, oh my gosh, like if I go to Dartmouth, I'll only be successful, or if I go to UVA Darden, like I won't be successful. Like that's not going through my head. At the end of the day, it to me it was all fair game. Yeah. No matter what school I went to, I would still have to show up, deliver, and execute. I would still have to show up to career fairs. I would still have to, apply and lean on my career that I've had up till this date. So as long as the school was providing the resources for me and just giving me access to a company, that's all I needed and that's all I want. And you obsess over the Harvard, Stanford, Whartons of the world, but it's like McKinsey's coming to all these schools. Mm-hmm. Like they're hiring the same amount from all these schools, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's right. I'm not missing anything.
Right. So tell us a little bit about your process of decision making and like how the schools were courting you, because the table turns quickly, right? Did you go to all of the welcome weekends?
Let me interject very quickly here, because that's something that our clients simply don't understand. Mm-hmm. As soon as you're accepted, truly the tables turn. They want you to come.
Yeah.
Yield.
They worry about their yield.
They're very worried about the yield, meaning if they accept you, they really want you to come, and suddenly you're in the driver's seat. What is it? What does that really mean?
It's overwhelming. Yeah. You're getting emails and phone calls weekly.
From who? From students,
current students, from alumni, from staff. Like, how can we talk to you to help you come? And I feel bad because I couldn't even respond to everyone because I'm just like, this is wild. Like I need to mute everyone and think about this person.
Do you mind if I contextualize this again for 1 second? It's like you went from like, and you're candid about your GRE struggles, and I think it's important to people should be very inspired to know that you can have a lower GRE, and it's an amazing story. And now you're like I might not get in at all because of my GRE. Now you're like, I've got too many people calling me. I can't even respond to them.
And let me add, right? Like usually people say if you're within the 80 percentile range, you might be safe. Of course, you want to be above the average. 299 is well below and outside of that 80% range. Let me also highlight that, right? Like we're not talking, like I might argue I might literally have one of the lowest test scores in all of these schools, right? So
Right.
not that I'm proud of that, but like that's a real thing.
Yeah.
No, in fact, let me turn it around again in the sense of I'll have a client come to me and they'll say, listen, I have really do I say 299? I have a 305 for GRE, and they say, "Listen, I know we're above average, but I look at the range of scores, and I see people with a lower score than me." And I said, "That's absolutely true. There's no question about it." But then I say, think about what that person looks like.
Right.
Think about the person on the lower end. What do they look like? And Austin, you can go back to our earlier podcast. Your background is so rich. The challenges you've faced are really so overwhelming for many people. All that you have achieved gives you the liberty to have a lower GRE score.
Sure.
Other people have to really think to themselves, have I shown the same sort of grit that someone like Austin showed?
So I think I'm receiving all these phone calls, these emails. It's insane, and I applied round 1 to the consortium, so it's the holidays, and I go back home for Christmas and New Year's, and my family's like, wow, like they're so proud and so impressed, and like, what are you gonna do? Like, none of these schools are close by anyway, so it's not like they're really thinking about like, hey, go here, it's closer to us. Like, they're all East Coast schools, and we wanted that, but I'm in the holidays, and I'm really like, I don't want to say like I wasn't able to fully celebrate. Because in my mind, I was so torn and so like, I need to pick a school before I can tell people like, I'm going here, let's like put it behind me. And so it just, you sleep on it. I prayed on it a lot, and, I'm really thinking about, and then I take a step back, right? Finances aside, thankfully, God willing, that's been covered. So, where would I just be happiest? Where would I enjoy myself?
That's right.
What school is going to just give me a good time? Like, I'm so grateful for San Diego State University. Like, I had so much fun there, and it was an awesome experience. And I want to have the same rich, exciting, fun experience at business school. It's not all just about the classroom. It's not all just about career, while that is absolutely priority. But once you start checking off some of these major items, then it gets personal. Where are you going to feel best with the weather as well? Like, New Hampshire is a little cold from San Diego, right?
Yeah. Though you did spend time in Oslo. So
I did. Correct.
So in terms of prioritization, we know that you want to be you crossed off cities. You want to be on a college campus, and we know you want something. We weren't sure exactly if your wife's job was going to be portable, so we wanted some more opportunities. That was a consideration. I think also flexibility curriculum early on was important to you.
Yeah, 100%. Flexibility curriculum, right? Like, I don't want to be given. I'm a business background. I work in professional services consulting already. I didn't want to be stuck, for a lack of better words, in a first-year core curriculum.
Yeah, take an account.
UVA Darden case study as well. Like, do I want to do case? Like, I don't know if I want to do case.
We do 100%
100% of the time, right? Like, I'm down for cases, and I know that'll be involved in some classes, but do I really want to, like, I didn't want to have, and anxiety is a bad word to think about it, but if I don't prep for the case every day or however often they happen, I don't want to show up to class every single day like I might get cold called and I didn't read the case. Because am I going to read the case every single night? And do people? I don't know, but I don't want to think about that, right? Like,
they do for that reason, because they don't want to be cold called the next day. There's a forcing mechanism.
Correct, which meant I would have had to be. And I'm not saying I don't have to be on my toes at Fuqua. That's not what I'm saying. Right. But it was just a different, like, I don't, I'm already, I just don't need that right now. And then Dartmouth Tuck, first year core curriculum. And so.
So it was really a 2-horse race at the end of the day.
It was.
Because the money was relatively similar. You actually took a little less money from Duke.
I did.
But it was really a 2-horse race between. How quickly did you get down to 2? Were you like, if I get into these 2, it's going to be tough, or was it a 3-horse race for a while?
It was a 3-horse race for a while. It was Darden,
with UVA was the other one.
UVA, Tuck, and Fuqua. And then once the money came down, once I attended the diversity weekend at Fuqua, it was Fuqua from there on. Right. But then when they cut me short a little bit of money, I was like, this is like, dang, am I really going to turn down, this full ride? But then I started taking a step back. Here I bought a car when I moved back from Oslo, a nice car, and I'm obsessed with cars, but I took a humongous car loan that I'm still paying off to this day, right? And I had no hesitation. I didn't even think twice about taking out this car loan. Financially, not smart at all, right?
Right. Right.
But I had no hesitation, right? And the loan that I would take out to go to Fuqua is like maybe a fourth of this car loan.
Okay.
With, higher career progression probably after and probably more income later. And I think the other thing too is, sometimes I feel like people focus on business school as a 2-year transaction. Like, this money is going to cost me for 2 years. But the way I look at it is it's a whole life decision.
Yeah, it's 40 years.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
Yeah.
It's forever.
This
And
is a common critique of ours.
Yeah.
We're like, there's some sort of market dislocation on this one because every MBA out there, or virtually every MBA out there, says, it really pays off in the long term, and every student is thinking about, it'll get my first job.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And you start hearing that, and it's like, okay, well, why am I stressing then, for this, like, so fixated on the first 2 years?
Right.
Right.
But you did go back to Duke with all your scholarship, and you said to them,
Yep.
"Can you match it? Can you help me out here?"
I did. I went back and went match it. And yeah, they raised it, got me really close to a full ride. I came down to like maybe 85, 90% coverage here, but
Right. Yeah, I've had that experience as well where clients will say to me, "Harold, do you think I can go back?" And I said, "Sure, go back and talk to them. It's a human process."
Yeah,
correct.
And
They're not going to be punitive about it. They're not going to be like, I think people are worried they're going to offend and that like their acceptance is going to be rescinded or something like that.
and I went back to them twice.
yeah,
Wow.
They came back and didn't give me the 100, and I went, let's try again.
Yeah.
I'm going to go until you say no, and I'll be respectful about it.
Right.
But, I went back, and I have to believe, I don't know this, but it came down to my test score. I'm sure they have all these metrics from a merit standpoint.
Right.
So they probably saw that, and they were like, look,
Right.
if you get that a little higher. And they told me, they were like, we won't guarantee you the money, but if you can retake your test again and get it a little higher, it's going to really help your scholarship negotiation. And I'm in this crossroads of like, I just put my life and soul through this process for a full year and a half.
right.
Like, do I really want to do something that gives me anxiety, or I just don't enjoy? Like,
Yes.
And I was just like, I don't know. And who knows? Maybe I could have gone for a fifth attempt, and
Good for you.
yeah.
but I said
it's
no.
hard.
Like,
How important how closely did you look at like career outcomes and employers? Was that a factor at all, or were you just like, did you have faith that you'll get where you want to go?
I briefly looked. Once I saw that tech companies are going, I said, let's do it. I didn't really look at the numbers because they're almost, and I don't know, this could be naive of me, but they all feel the same to me. Like, all the top employers are going to all the top schools, and a level 1 associate at a management consulting firm might make relatively the same. And once I saw that, I just felt like I would be safe.
Yeah. We just did a podcast in terms of, we called it the M8 schools, what is going to be the next school beyond the M7, and probably the school that I think we all agreed to was going to be Duke, or there was some great momentum around Duke. And part of the reason for that is I think the highest average salary is actually at Duke.
No, it was. I think it was the highest average salary outside of the M7, and then I think the other one was it had the lowest accept rate, and the highest yield.
It's Fuqua, correct.
among the and higher than some M7.
Yeah, higher than some of the
They're
others.
at like
some of them.
19% acceptance rate, and I think in their like high 50s
That's
for
right. It was-
yield.
Yeah.
Which is insane. And I get
Yeah.
it, because they not hire, they recruit so much on culture,
Yes.
on this
Yeah.
Team Fuqua thing.
Yeah.
You hear it, everyone talks about it, but when I went to the diversity week and you start meeting people, like, it is real. Like, people were like, what can I do to support you?
Was there any particular bell or whistle that the school offered? You're like, I can't get that at another school. That trip abroad, that action-based learning program, whatever it might be.
the leadership and ethics emphasis, and then being the Coach K Fuqua Impact Scholar. I just felt like those, to be able to specialize my MBA in that was massive. And I don't know, if UVA Darden allow specializations, they might, but Fuqua does. And for me, that was big. I want to study that. I want to meet Coach K. I want to be all into leadership and ethics and learn it, and live it. And I get to do that, at 2 years.
So how active is Coach K in that program?
So it's named after him. He shows up. I don't know how many times, but he'll show up and speak. He'll mentor.
Right.
But there's a whole like advisory board of leadership, thought leaders across the world, and in the sports world, and just real leaders that are involved in this program, teaching leadership at Fuqua, and that's awesome. Sign me up. I want to be that person in the front row seat, like listening to someone inspiring.
And I've had this with other clients, there's certainly something to be said for schools that really want you there.
Yes.
that really want you there.
Yes,
I think
and-
that really does count.
And they, like I said, right, you're getting the emails, they're calling you, but I felt like when they were talking to me, I felt a genuine, like, dude, he was like, and I don't want to say the name, but he was like, dude, I want you here, man.
Yeah.
Like, I want you here. I know you're going to be great here. Like,
I know.
That's it. I just feel like there's so many connection points. I guess you've just been a busy man.
but yeah, I don't know. Maybe there is there's a partner in my firm who went to Fuqua, has an MBA there. So I connected with him at the workshop weekend. I met a few alumni who I kind of stayed in touch with. One of them even offered to help me renegotiate.
Wow.
So when
that's interesting. Wow.
When I first negotiated and they came back and raised it a little bit, and I told y'all that I went back for a second attempt, I had a Fuqua alum, and not like a recent alum, but someone who I think graduated class of 07 or 08, VP at a big, firm right now. And she was like, what can I do to help you, try and get more money so that you can
go.
And I was like, that's insane. Like, I met you for maybe an hour,
Right.
and you're like, and at the time, this is also crazy. Through that weekend of diversity, I didn't know that I was accepted yet. And so she was like, if you don't get in for some crazy reason, like,
She's already going to bat for you.
like she's gonna go to bat for me. And I was just blown away.
Yeah.
And so I'm super thankful that I was able to like tell her, I got in.
Right.
But just I remember leaving there being like, I feel so taken care of here.
So you're moving there in a week.
Yeah.
You obviously understand where you're living. You got to live somewhere dog friendly.
Yeah.
Or do you know if are you in a little student village there? Do you know what do you know about your surroundings and what your life's going to be like there?
Yeah. Well, minimal.
How close are you to campus?
We're very close. We're probably like a 5-minute drive. Okay. So it's my understanding that a lot of students live on 9th Street. I think 50%, maybe 40% of Fuqua students live in 9th Street. And that's usually where kind of the bars are out, the social life's there. Right. And so, me and my wife, we didn't want to be on that street. We wanted to be close to it, but we didn't necessarily want to be able to walk outside and
right.
kind of, especially for her, like she's not really big into that scene.
Right.
I usually am. And so, yeah, of course, out of respect, I was like, sure, like let's go somewhere that you'll be happy. So we're in downtown Durham. There's all these new beautiful complexes. They're massive. They're friendly.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of Fuqua students as well. I think there's like 20% of Fuqua people in there. Dog friendly, I think I said that. And financially, and it's still a 5-minute drive from campus. I'm a walk from the baseball stadium.
That's great.
I can walk there.
Great.
I'm obsessed with sports, obsessed with baseball. I played that my whole life. Yeah. And we can walk to downtown. There's more restaurants. It's a little more social. Not so like Fuqua focus, I guess. And so that was big.
And I know it was big, obviously, having your wife with you or a partner with you. And I think that's something that people just probably don't give as much thought to. The reality is it is a two-person experience.
Right.
It could be something that's monumental for, both of you, really, starting point of your life in many ways.
And she came with me to Admitted Students Weekend there was that reason. I was like, hey, this is both of us. And like, I went to work the diversity weekend and knew I'm gonna love it here. So I was like, I hope when you come with me to Admitted Students Weekend that hopefully when we leave, you're like, that was awesome.
Was there good partner outreach for her?
Oh yeah. Huge. I mean, they had a whole devoted partner curriculum.
Oh wow.
Through Admitted Students Weekend. Like they had their own people and there was all these other partners. And I want to say Fuqua has one of the higher partner percentage of students. I think it's around the 30% of students that go to Fuqua have a partner. And so she left there, being like, oh my gosh, like I have friends and we're texting and like they're already saying like, when are you going to move here? Like, can't
She knows
wait.
more people than you do.
She probably does. She probably does. And, that was just so important for me because the last thing I wanted to do was like me having the time of my life or me in school and, here's my partner, just not feeling at home or not. Yes. So I let her really have final say on like the place, of course, like we agreed to it, right? But really let her drive that. I was like, where do you want up? Here's our budget, of these apartments, pick, like I'll go wherever we go. And so let her kind of drive that one.
That's great. That is really great. Really smart. Really smart.
Then we road trip, we leave San Diego, we're hitting the road. Still don't know. I haven't even mapped that out yet. So we're leaving Thursday. The goal is to get there by Sunday. And I'll be in Colorado the week before for work, which is crazy. And then 2 days after moving into Durham, I will be getting shipped off to DC for a consortium event. That's MLT. And then I'll be shipped off to consortium straight from DC to Indianapolis for the orientation program. So I will only have been in Durham for 2 days. And then I got to come back and settle in.
Okay.
It's amazing. You're a busy man.
Yeah.
It's a whirlwind. I mean, it's been a whirlwind.
It is absolutely a whirlwind. How much did it affect you that Duke lost in the Final Four and Cooper Flag is leaving?
Oh, gosh.
Did that make you pause at least?
That was tough. That was upsetting.
Yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
That was.
Yeah. That was really something. No. But hopefully, actually, as I say this as a Carolina fan, so maybe not so hopefully, Duke will find his way back in terms of the very top of the NCAA.
I hope so. And what's funny is, I went to San Diego State, and as a Carolina fan, they destroyed San Diego State in the March Madness tournament. So that also just getting
the San Diego State Aztecs.
The Aztecs, correct? Go Aztecs.
How much Duke paraphernalia do you own at this point?
Oh my gosh, I have 3 hoodies and a polo, I think.
That's
and
right.
they sent me a hat. I even had a friend text me like, "Wow, like you really are all in here." I was like, "That's embarrassing."
That's amazing.
That's great, though. Well, listen, Austin, thank you very much for sharing your story with us. It was fantastic.
Amazing journey. Really something.
By all means. And good luck. Listen, we're going to be keeping up with you, of course, but we really appreciate your time.
And thank you both. Thank you for taking the time to read.
My pleasure.
Who would have thought that a free consultation would have turned into, the blessing experience of getting to know you, and just being guided through you and onTrack and just having you by my side. I mean, like that. Who would have thought that something free for 30 minutes would have turned into this? And so just truly thank you so much.
I'm speechless. I mean, I'm speechless because I'm far more inspired by you and your journey, and that's what led me to want to be as generous as I could possibly be. Just to be humbly be a small piece of this story is incredible to me. So thank you and thank you for coming all the way from San Diego to join us.
Yes.
We're very, very lucky to have you here in person. It wouldn't have been the same remotely or anything like that. You've shared so much, and it's just been a joy to get to know you.
Absolutely. Really. Again, thank you very much, Austin.
Thank you.
Of course.
If you want to be one of our success stories, sign up for a free consultation with a member of our full-time MBA admissions team. Since we've worked with tens of thousands of applicants over the past 2 decades, we can give you our honest opinion on your chances and help you put together your very best application. That is not a sales call, but rather your first session with one of us for free. We can give you a profile evaluation, answer specific questions about the process, review your resume, talk about your school choices, and so much more. Sign up at mbaMission.com/consult. We look forward to working with you.